Hello guys, hope you and your families are doing well. Jack Corsellis here. Welcome to the midweek video where I go through stocks on the MarketSmith Growth 250 list that I think are displaying constructive signs and basing patterns. So cup and handles, VCPs, flags, Darvis boxes, all of that good stuff showing impressive relative strength and tick many of the cancelling boxes. There's 16 that I'm going to be taking you through in this video. If you want to know the stocks in the order, there is a comment down below where I've listed it for you. MarketSmith are the sponsor of this video. There's a discounted trial in the comments also if you are interested in that. Now let's get into it and start off with Celsius. Now I covered this in the weekend video where I do the IBD 50 stocks because Celsius is in there. Also looks very interesting on the weekly and also the monthly chart, but when we're looking at it here on the daily chart, we can also see a potential cup and handle, which we can see on the larger time frames. Now what I think is interesting here is certainly there is a lot of strength going on. I think non-alcoholic beverage related stocks in the prior decades, think Coca-Cola, think Monster beverages, have gone on some big runs. Celsius is showing a lot of relative strength, very high sales as well. And what I think is interesting with this cup and handle forming on the monthly, the weekly and also the daily is if we take a look, we've got three high quality growth funds have initiated a position in the most recently reported quarter. So we have a cup and handle, which is one of the most reliable accumulation structures. Doesn't mean it's necessarily going to break out and work, but we have a cup and handle pattern forming with three high quality growth funds initiating a position in the most recently reported quarter. Looks interesting, doesn't it? So Celsius on a short-term basis is extended here. So what I'm looking for is a bit of consolidation, at least let the 10 EMA catch up, which is this pink line, preferably the green line, which is the 21 EMA as well, catch up, trigger bar come in. But then I think Celsius could look very interesting. It's one I'm keeping an eye on. CF is the next one, which is an ag stock, so big old kind of VCP based building here. You can start to see these structural high lows forming, consolidating around the 10, 21 EMAs plus the 50 SMA. Fidelity in there increasing, initiated their position in Q1 of 2022, added in Q3, added in Q4. So I think this one is interesting, consolidating nicely, just watching for that trigger bar to come in around those key moving averages. Has a history of being able to tighten up, build a base and break out well. So CF is one that I'm keeping an eye on. Let's scroll down a little bit. The next one here is ARMK. So this stock here, obviously very, very strong indeed. You can see powering up here from the low 30s into the low 40s. Good volume coming through on the earnings. You've got high quality growth fund increasing their position in the most recently reported quarter. You've got 4 quarters of triple digit earnings. Sales look steady eddy. Margins are increasing as well. So it just needs a little bit more time. Potentially it's a cup and handle with a high handle. So something like this in the low 40s. So it just needs to go sideways. At least a week or so for me to really be interested. Let the 10 EMA just kind of start going sideways a little bit as well. Watch for a trigger bar to come in there. Let's go on to the next one, which is the stock is SAN-M, ticker SAN-M. So I think this one is very interesting. It's stock you've probably never heard of, but yeah, just look at the strength here. So this is really nice. Obviously, we're in the context of a bear market, looking for leadership. There are more stocks beginning to set up, which is a positive sign. The market is reacting well to Powell's comments. Currently, things can change very quickly, but it's the market that I'm currently seeing. So we're powering up here from about $45 to nearly $70 in the last month or so. Now, really good action coming through on the earnings. Good volume coming through, pushes up the next couple of days, shake out underneath the 10, shake out today and currently on session highs, which is good to see. So potentially a low pivot around 66, 60, $65, maybe something like that. Just watching and waiting for a trigger bar, but looks interesting. Volume is drying up constructively as well. On to the next one, which is ticker PI. I'm just going to drag this up a little bit. So ticker PI, semiconductor stock, positive reaction to the most recent earnings on volume. 2 higher quality funds. One is initiated, the other has increased their position in the most recently reported quarter. Now on a short-term basis, it's extended. So I would actually like to see potentially kind of a cup and handle with a high handle form here in $121, $122, something like that. But it just needs to go sideways a little bit more. Preferably a trigger bar comes through on the 10 EMA, but really good estimates for the next couple of years with forward guidance up as well. Next one is another semiconductor stock, which is AEHR. So similar to PI on a short-term basis is extended, but it's a very strong stock. Good earnings, very good sales coming through. Estimates there for the next couple of years as well. RS line's very strong versus the market. Green line is versus a stock zone industry group. Has a history of being able to run hard as well in 2020 and 2021. Earlier this year to an extent as well. Actually, it got nice and tight in there. So it just needs to now go sideways for at least a week or so, preferably 2 weeks, and just kind of build out a really nice flag in $26, $27 area. But that's definitely one on my on my radar. Bigger semiconductor stock now. This is on Semiconductor. So potentially building out a nice large base. Now it's still a little bit choppy, isn't it? But we've got higher quality growth funds increasing their position, very consistent high earnings and sales, which is good to see. Now what I'm looking for is a pivot point to form somewhere in the mid 70 area. So you can see it's still pretty choppy here. So if we can just kind of back and fill a little bit, tighten up, nice and quiet, trigger bar coming through around the 1021 EMA, that's going to be of interest. Another semiconductor stock, there is some strength in semiconductors. It's mainly healthcare, biotech, semis, solar, and also oil and gas and some commodity stocks. Some of the coal stocks look strong as well. I'm trying to avoid commodity stocks in this video, especially, and focus on more of those kind of classic growth areas. But GFS, interesting, potential first kind of viable base from the IPO here. Triple digit earnings coming through, sales pretty steady eddy and high, margins accelerating as well, 5, 12, 15, 17%, nice to see. And in the context of this IPO base, potentially now forming out a cup and handle. Nice shakeout today. So can it just recover, tighten up over the next week or so? Okay, trigger bar come in, and then this is something I could be targeting. So I think that's interesting. Positive reaction to the most recent earnings on volume as well. Getting into a couple of the solar stocks. So Enphase Energy. This is a stock, time of filming this one, already long this one. Fidelity increasing their position in the 2 most recent quarters. On the monthly chart, potentially a really big base. On the weekly chart, big old base forming as well, similar to Celsius. Enphase Energy and Celsius have some very nice looking weekly and monthly charts. RS lines are turning up good, ticking basically all of the cancelling boxes. 3 to 5 year earnings per share growth rate of 191% with an ROE of 74%. Triple digit earnings coming through, accelerating sales, getting up to 81%. Estimates there for the next couple of years. If you haven't watched Tony Seber's YouTube videos on energy disruption over the next decade or so, I highly recommend you do that. Positive reaction to the 2 most recent earnings, and this cup and handle still potentially trying to form in here. Nice action today, but it's one that if I can look to free roll my current position and it tightens up in here as well, this is one that I'm really interested in pushing it fairly hard. I think solar could be an area that's going to show a lot of leadership during the next bull market. A couple other solar stocks. This is Array Technologies. Look at the estimates coming through. Plus 750 with the guidance up, plus 185 with the guidance up as well. So similar to Enphase Energy, potential cup and handle type pattern forming, and see how you got a high quality growth fund initiating a position in Q1 of 2022. They're only doing that for one reason: they think they are going to make money. So I think it's interesting when we start to see initiations by these high quality growth funds, seeing it in some of the biotech and healthcare stocks, seeing it in the solar stocks as well. I think that's interesting. That's where I'm seeing a lot of leadership as well. Positive reaction to the 2 most recent earnings, looking for a pivot to develop in the low 20s. So it just needs to kind of go sideways, base out a little bit more for me. But that one there, I'm willing to go kind of overweight in the solar area if I'm getting positive feedback from the market and the setups are there. Another solar stock, really good estimates coming through. Potential cup and handle with a higher handle. Now it needs a little bit of work, high 20s, $30 maybe where the pivot forms. I think how this could kind of base out is more likely to be a lower pivot, but just looking for price action to get nice and tight in there. Really positive reaction to the most recent earnings, where earnings were up 43%, sales 52%, margins accelerating 1%, 13%, 16%, 18%. So really good to see. Growth rate 3 to 5 year look back 49%. Looks like a strong one. I think I've got one more solar stock, and then we're going into a couple of biotech. So this one here, SunPower, technically a little bit weaker, but I still like this kind of basing action. So potential phase 1 base building here. So this is obviously a phase 4 decline, then potentially into a phase 1 base, and you can start to see a cup and handle potentially forming. So the handles will often represent either a Davos box, a bit of VCP action, but positive reaction to the earnings as well. So it's interesting with a lot of these solar stocks, we're seeing positive reactions to the most recent earnings report. You can see it in here as well. Look at the volume coming through. Nice to see. So just looking for this to kind of just go sideways, basically around $20, $24, $25. Trigger bar setting up around the 10 EMA, but that there is a solar stock I'm keeping a close eye on. Into some of the healthcare biotech stocks. This is PRTA. So nice gap up on volume here. Now the stock is building higher lows, which is constructive to see. Still a little bit volatile, so just need things to quieten down here. Preferably a trigger bar in the low 60, kind of 61, 62 price area. But if that can kind of shape up in there, I'd be interested in that. Biotechs are a fairly strong area of the market at present. Dexcom much bigger in terms of the market cap. Positive reaction to the most recent earnings. Bit of a mismatch here with higher quality funds in there, but in the most recent quarter, some of them have been decreasing their position. We'll see if that changes because of this gap up on earnings when the information is reported. But pulls back down constructively to the 1021 EMA, starting to bounce off of the 21 EMA today and the 10 EMA. If this can go sideways for a little bit longer and I can get a relatively tight stop in there, it's one I'm considering. Estimates look good for the next couple of years. Got two more to show you. The first one here, this is a oil and gas stock. This is WFRD. So a couple of nice big shakeout demand tails. So shakeout underneath the 21, another shakeout underneath the 21 with strong closes. Volume starting to dry up. Positive reaction to the most recent earnings, plus 163%. Sales plus 19% as well. Margins accelerating from being negative to positive. That's always a good thing in my book. So I like how this is potentially setting up a flag. You can see that starting to get tight around the 10 EMA. 21 EMA isn't far behind. So if this continues to tighten up underneath $44, $45, something like that, it's an oil and gas stock that I'm keeping a close eye on. Fund ownership in the last 8 quarters has gone up from 63 to 312, so clearly a stock that's under accumulation. Let's do the final one, which is PAG. So potential cup and handle type pattern forming, not as good as some of the other ones I've shown you in terms of the earnings, the sales and the margins, but potential cup and handle type pattern forming here. Can it just go sideways a little bit more along the 10 EMA for a stock like this, which is going to be a little bit slow? I'd like to see the 21 there as well. So it's on the radar. You can see how it kind of tightened up like this, see how it starts building higher lows, the volume dries up, all good stuff, and then it starts powering out that base. So it's on the radar. I think there's stronger ones, but certainly keep an eye on it because of the cup and handle. So that is it, guys. I will wrap it up there. Hopefully you've enjoyed that video, and I look very much forward to seeing you in the next one.